computer.
Yeah. Oh, this way. Yeah.
So,
And then go this way.
okay, welcome to the podcast on executive coaching and consulting. We're at perview.org. And stay tuned for this because there's a free gift at the end. Now, today we've got Olivia Parr-Rud, who's got an amazing story. And I've been to some of her trainings, and they're awesome. She's a data scientist and an analyst. And somehow during her career, she saw the light and it flashed a heart. And she goes into corporations and talks about why they should have a heart of care in what they do. And she gives some very fascinating things. I'll just say also, we've partnered up doing some joint venturing. We came out of Genius Unlocked training, and we've got some things we're doing for millennials. So this podcast is going to be about how to retain your millennials, and it's going to be about why we need some cutting edge approaches to leadership transformation, why we need gratitude, why we need a heartfelt understanding of the different peoples that work in there, the different generations, X, Y, Z, boomers, millennials, all of that. And I'll just start by saying that, a mid-sized company is spending about $3 million a year in millennial turnover. And the Fortune 1000 corporations altogether are spending like $30 billion. So big industry. And we're going to talk about why millennials are walking away. But let's start with um, Olivia Parr-Rud. Can you tell us what got you to give up a perfectly good career in data analyst and do the soft stuff in organization like hearts?
Well, thank you for having me, David. And yeah, I'll just say as a kid, I had a lot of trauma and I really shut my heart down to protect myself and kind of went the traditional path, went to college, studied math, so I didn't have to be into my emotions. And then got married, had kids, and started doing a lot of healing work. And I wanted to become a social worker or a psychologist because I was just really fascinated with this healing process. But a friend of mine, and so now I was debating, I had three young kids, and I my oldest was about 10, and I thought I was kind of itching to do something to grow myself. So I was going to go to school. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you go with your math skills because it's really hard to get a job as a, social worker and you don't make much money. And I'm thinking, okay, that is the practical route. Because at the time my husband was having health issues. So I needed to start becoming a part or the breadwinner. So I ended up getting a master's degree in statistics. And I was at a time when data science was brand new and the computers were getting fast enough to really make things amazingly possible. So got recruited into a credit card bank. Now here I am, I've been this earth mom for 10 years, really open-hearted, ready to just have this exciting experience. And I got there and it was totally ruled by fear and sink or swim. My direct manager was great, but then he got promoted and I got stuck under somebody that didn't like me. And it was so stressful. And I wanted to get out of it, but my work was good and I was saving them lots of money by using the techniques that I had learned. So I had to stay to keep the family afloat. And I was one day I was meditating and I said, why am I stuck here? I hate this. Why am I stuck in the corporate world? I hate the culture. And this has only ever happened to me this one time. I heard this voice saying, this is where you need to be to learn the skills to do your real work. I had no idea what that meant. But as a data scientist, as my work started to get noticed, and I ended up moving back because I was in San Francisco for that, moving back east to be near family because my husband's health issues were getting worse. And I and I found out that some companies had great cultures, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. And then, and I saw how much more productive everyone was. So I went, at the time, my skills were in high demand. I went to several different companies and I started getting invited to speak at conferences, which, well, actually, I got invited to write a book, and that terrified me, but I managed to make it happen. And then it became a bestseller in the data science field. So then I got invited to speak, which terrified me. But what I realized is that those were the skills that were honing me for my real work. And so along the way, I became a consultant and I got involved in a lot of different
Oh,
cultures as a data mining consultant. And that's when I could really see there was this pattern. So I started just diving into the research, and I read Leadership and the New Science by Meg Wheatley, where she
oh,
talks about
sure.
seeing the business as a living system. And that just fascinated me. And I was studying quantum physics and evolutionary biology and systems theory. And I thought, all right, I'm going to get a PhD in organizational development, and then I can, dive in and really do this work. I'd also experienced a few group leadership uh, programs where I could see people's hearts opening. And these were people that were coming because they needed to be, uh, they were doing really well analytically in their leadership, but needed their hearts to be open. And I just got very excited about that potential. All right, so I start this PhD program, and I realized they're talking about the past. All the models were from the past, and I could see this future way of looking at things. So I decided to write a book,
Yeah.
and but I still didn't have I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have the credentials to really consult. But I kept writing and speaking on these softer skills, and then it came a point where I didn't really want to keep learning new software. Like where I was working, I had a lot of freedom. I was a consultant for Cisco for 14 years.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it was great. I could work from home and do my own hours. But at some point, they got rid of the software I was used to for 35 years, and they wanted me to learn Python. And I went, you know what? This is probably a good time to step away. And I realized that there's a lot of other people like me who were retirement age, but really didn't want to stop being vital and having an impact. So that's why I started my Amazing Aging podcast, and I decided uh, to start just putting my voice out there around people sharing wisdom, and also kind of teasing into maybe working with corporate again. And then when you and I, as you said, we shared this program, and my partner Tom, who's passionate about gratitude, I am passionate about love. I actually wrote a book called Love at Work back in 2018, which shows all the statistics about the companies. So it was fun as a data scientist to see that there's actually people that bring in love and compassion, or could say caring, into their culture, make more money, right? That was very exciting. Yeah, so now we, as going through the Genius Unlocked, we're now looking at ways to actually bring these softer skills into business to
Yeah.
help. And I don't know, you mentioned, but we know there's this problem with turnover, and a huge majority, and I know you're going to be interviewing Tom Lemke, so he's got more statistics here, but that it's the fact that they're not appreciated that is driving people away. These millennials and younger people, they want to be valued for who they are, not just what they do. They want meaning in their work.
Sure.
I think that, so some managers complain, but I actually think that's a good thing, because I feel like we shouldn't just be stuck in a job and then only have a life when we're not at work. I think our work should include meaning. So that's kind of how I got here. It was a long way to get there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And um, you and I and Tom, we've put together, it's now 18 people that are doing
Yeah.
joint ventures, some of which have been through various phases of Genius Unlocked. But I'm going to offer to the rest of them to pay their first fee for their first course. It's not a lot of money, and And then it's up to Genius Unlocked to train them.
Yeah,
Again,
right. That's
I'm really looking forward to that notion that you have consulting skills. You were in the program of work development and change. You have analytic skills, and you've got coaching skills with a lot of coaching training, even before Genius Unlocked, because I read your bio. And now we're sort of developing and shaping this company to go out and do both coaching and consulting with millennials. And I want to ask you, have you ever looked at a 15-year-old millennial YouTube about millennials? Because they'll say things like, oh, those millennials are so lazy. They don't focus. It's hard to get them to work. They don't pay attention to the job. They seem, to just be marking time. We can't get them, into the groove, And
yeah,
now, you turn around now where millennials are the biggest chunk of the workforce now. It's not X's, Y's, G's, boomers anymore. The millennials
yeah,
have come into the biggest chunk. And and now everybody's saying, oh, we got to do things to help those millennials. We got to stop saying that they're lazy and unwilling to commit. We got to say they need meaning, like you were saying. We got to do
yeah.
some things to mentor the millennials. And they even have a reverse mentoring program now that some people are doing, where the the millennials are mentoring the executives who are mentoring the millennials, so they can
That's
learn to
awesome.
relate, you know.
Yeah,
And we got all the skills to do that, Olivia. So
we do.
what
Yeah,
do you
and
think?
I mean, if you think about it too, back in the earlier days of our country, the jobs were a lot simpler, and really the leader would give a task and the person would go do it. But today, I even think our brains are different, and the millennials, the meaning that they want, and also I think they want to be almost like an owner of the goal of the company. So you don't necessarily say do this and then do this, but say here's the problem we're solving, figure out what steps to take to
Oh
actually
yeah,
do that. And then they get engaged and they're so creative and have different brains in a way, not just, I think, evolutionarily, but the fact that they've been in technology more than we did at that age. And so they may have ideas that we couldn't even think of. And so to empower them to come up and be more innovative.
yeah.
Also, if everything linear is being automated or outsourced, so if companies don't empower people to be innovative, they're not going to be able to survive. And
I
so,
know. It's so amazing. I remember in back in the day, people were motivated by a good salary, benefits, all that. A study by Deloitte in 2019 says 75% of millennials believe the workplace culture and values alignment are more important than their salary.
yeah,
So,
that's wonderful.
yeah, so if we can do that, I'm thinking back on what you shared of your story. It seems like you were a pre-millennial. You were out for the values and connecting and opening your heart and getting people to open their hearts. So you were like millennial qualified.
Millennial adjacent or whatever.
Yeah, you've been
That's funny.
millennialized. So
Yeah. Um, it's interesting too. I have two older sisters, and I often wonder why I think differently. And I know they all had the same sort of family trauma, which wasn't abuse, but it was really just loss. We lost our parents real young. And so I don't know what it may just might I don't know, but I've always been so curious about the way things work, and with that spiritual uh,
yeah,
overlay. And to me, that speaks to having meaning. Money, I think, is important, but it's never been a driver for me. Um,
right.
yeah. I mean, we didn't have much growing up, but we were okay. We got by.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say your age, so it's not going to happen.
I don't
I mean,
mind.
my parents grew up in the Depression. They had nothing, you know,
Yeah,
and
mine
they
too.
taught us to be thrifty, to recycle, to reuse. I mean, that was the big thing. And, and now each generation grows up with their own hardship or their own opportunity, you know, and
Mhm.
I just want to say that people out there, if you go to perview.org/one. You get a free download of the statistics and things about millennials and what are some steps you can do about it. It's a free ebook. And what we're doing here is we're saying it's time to stop stereotyping those millennials and try to make them like boomers or Xers or something like that. And it's companies are increasingly seeing the value of millennials to the future of their organization. Flexible work arrangements, leader development programs, these are very, very typical. And I'll give you a couple of examples. They're a global firm in expertise investment is allowing associates to step from their client work to develop specialized knowledge. And this is reducing millennial turnover by 19%.
Wow.
That came out of Utah Valley University. Companies have paired the senior executives with younger millennials, and this has reduced turnover among their employees. Value-based leadership is really big. So the kind of thing that you're doing, Olivia, with the heartfelt approach, is
Mhm.
implementing value leader strategies, helping align organizational values with the millennials who have that expertise. They grow up computer savvy. They're not afraid of AI, um, all of the rest of it. So we think that this is a big industry, a big opportunity, and we're jumping into it with both feet. So, what would you like to tell everybody as we wrap this up, Olivia, about? Well, I think they should read all of your books, every one of them.
Yeah, thank you. And my website's oliviapr.com. And if you're interested in my amazing aging blueprint, you can go to giftfromolivia.com. And the Amazing Aging Blueprint is just a map. If you have wisdom you want to share, yeah, so it's one of my gifts to the world. I will say too that for millennials, I love the research you shared, and I think one thing is, ask them what they need, right? That's the beauty that they know better than we can figure out, and it sounds like that's what a lot of these companies are doing. And I personally loved going to companies where they were going to invest in me to get training. So it sounds like it's very similar now to what they're doing, and know how to keep people is to grow them as their employees. So that's yeah, I'm excited for where what the impact we can have with nurturing these. I will also say you and I love AI, so that's another part of not aging. I'm not ashamed. I'm 74 years old, and I feel like that is uh, it could maybe inspire others that we don't have to just roll over or sit on the couch and eat bonbons and watch TV when we retire. We can actually have an impact in the world. And I love playing with you doing that. So
Oh,
thank
yeah. Well, thanks to amazing aging, neither one of us look like we're in our 70s. I'm 77 if we're going to reveal age. So I'm an elder, but
you. Yeah.
I'm going to be going back to my university part-time here and there, and I'm going to be doing consulting with you and coaching. And we'll have the real coaches fully trained by Genius Unlocked to do the coaching. But
Uh,
uh, it's really important, I believe, that we get to how the feelings are happening. Us boomers, we were taught, don't reveal your feelings, just act like you don't have any, And now that we can't relate to the millennial generation that way. We can't.
yeah. No, the feelings matter. And
Yeah.
intuition, that's something that they didn't even think about back then. And now it's actually a great tool for business.
Yeah. So I was never brought up. I remember work-life balance was an elective in our doctoral program. We were all focused on get efficiency, get quality, get performance, lower those costs, get results. And now that's just not going to work with this workforce, and it shouldn't. We need uh, more flexible arrangements. We need work-life balance. We don't need to burn out people so they go off and they don't know what to do with themselves. My dad said, "When you retire, you die." And I'm going, "Oh my, I never should retire. I'm going to die." And I had that thought, and I needed Genius Unlocked just to tell me, "No, David, it's okay to have fun, to be
Oh,
flexible, you know?"
oh, right. I get it. Yes. You know, my mother was a workaholic and I mean, well, so, you know, my dad died when I was 5, and so she had to go to work full time. So I wouldn't say she was a workaholic, but she worked long hours to support 3 kids.
Yeah.
And at her funeral, they glorified her. They said Betty burned the candle at both ends. And she was an insurance saleswoman and she was really good at it. She had her own personal story. But when I got into sales, I realized that I had anchored sales with death. And so sales terrified me. And until I cleared it, it was just crazy. But yeah, so I have to be, I am constantly giving myself permission to just relax and have a good time because my role model was, oh, you just work and work and work and you can't relax until you get everything done. And that just doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Well, I'm really happy. I got a Genius Unlocked coaching certificate. I'm not allowed to teach it, so I can't tell anybody's secrets out there. But there's something called getting to the root cause, and it sounds like Olivia, you got to the root cause
Right.
of uh, of that, and we both. It was around death, for both of
Yeah.
us, and
And it was at my NLP training, the first level like you, where I got that hit. It was great.
yeah. So we encourage people to go to purview.org, PERVIEW, and you'll find all kinds of free downloads. But if you just want to get it out real quick, you go to our landing page, PERVIEW.org/one. You can download the book, and we'll be having webinars almost weekly, according to Olivia's plan,
I mean,
which I
bi-weekly is what
endorse.
every other week, I think, but
Oh,
maybe
every other week.
we'll
Okay.
see. We'll see.
So the
Maybe.
calendar will be full. Our lives will
And
be full. We'll be working out and
yeah.
enjoying life.
And
This is
I'd love to just mention too my website, oliviapr.com. On there, I've got tons of free ebooks. So I encourage you to go. They're free to download. And it's sort of a smattering of all the things that I feel passionate about sharing. And some of it's about business, some of it's about personal and spiritual growth. So I invite people to go look.
absolutely. I've read these books and they're amazing.
Oh,
Amazing aging is amazing because
yes.
I've made a decision. I'm going to get younger every year. I'm going to get more fit. I'm going to
Yeah.
be one of those guys that's like just jumping around.
Oh, I learned something today I was watching a news show that the flavonoids in really healthy chocolate pull stem cells out of your bone marrow and feed your organs. So
Oh,
chocolate, if you get really healthy cocoa with, organic flavonoids or whatever,
Oh,
it's
you mentioned NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Well, we had that training in Genius Unlocked, and you can just go to Genius Unlocked coaching dot something or other. You'll find them, and they had me release my popcorn and chocolate edition, and they did the whole thing just like Tony
oh,
Robbins up there.
like the
Chocolate
slop.
is this gooey stuff that's like oil, and you're going like, oh gosh. Now I don't want chocolate anymore. I don't want popcorn anymore, and I get a good watermelon in the evening. So anyway, we're going
Vanessa.
to wrap up. So
Yeah. Well, that was fun. Thank you.
we really enjoyed our guest, Olivia Parr-Rud. She and I are joint venturing, which is a really good approach. And a lot of people are joining us. So that tells us that the universe has recognized our ideas and our energy and the heart we have for millennials and everybody else. We want all the generations. Can we all get along? In the words of Rodney King, So that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you very, very much for being a guest today.